This is the brand new Sony FX30. I had the opportunity to create some content for the launch film. We put it on an FPV, almost got buried in sand, all while pushing the camera to the extreme in the harshest conditions. Now this is not a review video. Instead, I'm going to share my first impressions and experience working with the camera, as well as break down the production. We live in an exciting age. Cameras are getting smaller and cheaper, yet the quality is constantly improving, bridging the gap between consumer budget and high-end cinema. The FX30 is a near clone of its bigger brother, the FX3, with an identical build and functionality, except now you're on a smaller APS-C sensor. This makes it a great option for users invested in APS-C lenses, and an easy entry into the Sony cinema line sharing the same workflow. Users shooting on the bigger FX series will also welcome this as a B cam, making it easy to match color and mimic settings without effort. I opted for a minimalist setup, shooting everything handheld, so instead of putting the camera in a cage, I mounted my small rig handle directly onto the camera into the 1/4" threads with an Atomos Ninja 5 for monitoring. With the new firmware, the FX30 works quite a bit different to the A7 series, with the addition of Cine EI mode. In this mode, the camera is set by default to S-Log 3, limited to the fixed native ISO of 800 or 2500. I'm a huge fan of this because it's an incentive for filmmakers to be more intentional with ND filters and lighting, and forces you to get the most out of your camera. Here I'm talking about maximum dynamic range performance and flexibility in post with grading. Shooting in log is always the more professional option because it gives you the freedom to do color space transforms or use your own creative LUTs instead of being stuck with just one baked-in look. You still have the option to work with the flexible ISO, but Cine EI is a surefire way to optimize on performance. Because the camera has a dual native ISO of 800 and 2500, you can also switch to Cine EI quick mode. This enables you to quickly jump between these two ISOs by simply adjusting the exposure index to that set ISO, helpful in those on-the-go scenarios where the light changes more rapidly. Usually exposure index only alters your displayed exposure and not the final image, but in this mode the camera switches over to the second base ISO the moment you reach the 1600 ISO exposure index, but still recording at 2500 ISO. I shot in both bright and low light conditions with a minimalist lighting setup in the garage. I wanted the scene to feel moody and gritty, working mostly with backlight and subtle fill light. Here, I simply had a power tube with the grid, motivating the natural light coming in through the windows, wrapping in, with another power tube acting as a practical, creating a rim light. In a second scene, I used the same two tube lights, the first to act as a practical set to tungsten, lighting the tool counter, and a second as a motivation for the natural light coming from behind. The desert scenes were quite challenging to film, with strong winds blasting sand into our eyes and the occasional rain, but the camera held up without any issues, even after eating a ton of sand in one of the pull-away shots. I wanted to open the riding strong with the feeling of being close to the bike, spitting up sand. So I put on a pair of ski goggles to protect my eyes, and I'm happy to say that it was worth it. The ability to load your own LUTs is a welcome improvement, especially if you know which LUT you want to use in post. Now the camera has the ability to display the same look through the HDMI on your external monitor, without having to add the LUT on your monitor also. If for some reason you're on a tight turnaround and you know which look you want, you can even go as far as set the camera to bake in your own LUT, saving you time in post. This is great if you want a creative look of your choice instead of shooting on S-Cinetone or other picture profiles. If you watch the main film, you'll note that the sound of the bike sounds super realistic, and that's because it is. I recorded all the riding sounds in camera using the Sony ECM B10 microphone. I've been using this mic for a few months now to record more on-site audio, and I'm absolutely blown away by how well it does. I mostly used one lens, the 16-55 f2.8, a 24-70mm equivalent for the APS-C cameras, with two shots in the garage on the 15mm f1.4. On the FPV, we used the 10-20mm f4 power zoom, with my friend Luke Bell behind the sticks. I'm always fascinated by the skill of FPV pilots, and Luke is a class act. But what about the crop? If you're already invested in APS-C lenses, this shouldn't be a problem, but I can totally see the benefit of having this as a B or C cam and using the crop to your advantage on your full frame lenses, getting more reach for those long shots, especially at 100 frames per second. And that's it. If you have any more questions, let me know in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.